That's Twisted.
This is Mark McNease in New York City with my co-host
Rick Rose in Shreveport, Louisiana.
And you're listening to The Twist. Welcome to another Twist, everyone, America's only clothing optional podcast. This is Mark McNease on the East Coast. You know, Rick, maybe I should say the East Coast because we're going to be spending half of our time, perhaps a little more, at our New Jersey country house. I don't want to redo the introduction just yet because it says I'm in New York City, but I am today, and you're in Shreveport, as far as I know.
Yeah, but I'm going to say the South because usually I'm somewhere in the South. I like that. We'll say from the East Coast and Rick Rose from the South, or sometimes the North. Like next week, I'll be in the North.
Well, cool. Where are you going? The Super Bowl's over. You did the Super Bowl. What are you doing now?
I'm going to my super mama's birthday party. She's going to be 75.
Oh, so happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Lolly Rose.
Hi, Lolly. I remember staying up at your in the North Woods a long time ago.
Yes. I took you up there when we were doing some work for Discover Wisconsin, which also had a birthday, 30 years this year, TV series that I used to host. Can you believe it? Yeah, today, April 12th, is my mom's birthday, born in 1942, during the war stuff and all this stuff. And so, yeah, it won't be next weekend. Next weekend's Easter, but the weekend after, April 22nd, that weekend, I'm flying to Wisconsin. Just small group, just my family, just immediate family. So.
Well, that's really cool. And another cool thing is that we've got a couple sponsors for the month.
Very cool. Who you got, Mark?
We got retirefabulously.com. Now, there's the gentleman who founded that and runs it is Dave Hughes. I've known him for several years, and I've been a big cheerleader of his for a long time because he writes retirement columns. They're not just for LGBT people, but originally it was sort of tailored to that. I mean, when you think about it, Retire Fabulously is kind of a gay thing. But no, it's for anybody. It's for anybody who is interested in retirement, about to retire, retired, or, you know, which is kind of like a lot of us, especially people, Frank and me and my peers. Jerry is just retired, my friend Jerry. But anyways, Dave, retirefabulously.com. Check it out, people. It's awesome. And he recently became a blogger for U.S. News and World Report.
Nice. I love that guy, by the way.
Right, cool. Which is why his stuff isn't on my lgbtsr.com site anymore because they had exclusivity. It's, you know how that works. But anyways, Dave is great, and he's I'm plugging him every show for the next month. And LGBT, since I brought it up, lgbtsr.com is in its 7th year, and we just hit 400 email subscribers. That may not seem like a huge number, you know, in the Huffington Post world, but it's big. It's big for a little site like us. We're just chugging along. We're in our 7th year, so happy anniversary. And
that's cool.
Yeah, 400.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Who you plugging?
Who's I got? Well, the Twisted, America's only clothing optional podcast, is also brought to you by ShreveArts.org. That's the Shreveport Regional Arts Council. We call it here locally SRAC, S-R-A-C. So it's ShreveArts.org. Check them out. It's where the artist is the center of all they do. When you go to their website, you'll learn about the Arts Culture Crush Month, the month of April, which Mark and I talked about last month on the show. That's what got them excited when I shared the podcast last week. You can learn how to go on artist studio tours down here in Northwest Louisiana, how to collect arts. There's an art directory. In the end of the month, they have a wonderful, fabulous thing called Art Break, where all the schools from Caddo Parish and Bossier Parish come together and exhibit their art. All the kids get a chance to hang them on the walls of our convention center. Check it out, ShreveArts.org.
Excellent. Rick, do you hear that? You hear a baby crying?
Yeah, what happened? I thought you had kitty cats, not babies.
Somebody dropped a baby on our doorstep. I'm going to have to take care of that after the show.
Don't put baby in a corner.
No, that was really my little way of letting people know that we're going to have lots of fun sound effects. I like mixing. It takes time, but I love mixing shows. I could have been a sound guy in a different life, but I can be that now, just like I can be a cashier. You know, I got a job at the Giant grocery store. Got to give them a shout out in New Hope, Pennsylvania, which is 20 minutes from our house. It's 2 hours from where I'm sitting, but it's 20 minutes from our house where we will be spending 4 nights a week as we continue this ongoing process of moving out there. So anyways.
Well, you gotta commute to work.
15 minutes.
Well, that's fantastic. Yeah, you were talking about retirement and changes in life. That's the thing. Mark and I used to start the show promptly at 7 a.m. This is recorded, of course, guys, and thank you for joining us. But lately it's like, oh, Mark, I can't do it till 7:15. I got to call my mom. It's her birthday. I'm not ready till 7:30. I'm moving slow this morning. I don't like to wake up in the morning. What has happened, man? As we age, we all age differently. But I'm very proud of you that you're starting a new career at 75 years old, Mark. That's fantastic.
Right. Actually, I'll be 59 in October. But also, of course, I write mysteries. I mean, I write fabulous mysteries.
I know. I've got a whole anthology of them here, and I share that book with many people who love to read it.
Thank you, Rick. Now, you ready for it? So we're going to dive into the show. You ready? Tell me when you're ready.
Yeah. Well, we start the show, folks, with some red lines or headlines. We get into some hot topics, and we always end the show with a quote if you're new to the show. Thanks for joining us. Send us comments any which way you wish. We're ready to rock and roll.
I think it's podcast. Or actually, they could just send it to twistpodcast@outlook.com or podcast at thetwistpodcast.com. Okay, here we go. This week's red lines rhymes with headlines.
Yes.
This one is from this morning. It's probably might have been yesterday, but anyways, Melania. You know who Melania Trump is, right?
Well, you don't see her much. She's got an official portrait, so yes, I kind of do.
Well, don't get me started. She and the kid, who I would never pick on,
no,
because he's a child. Her adult children are fair game. But anyways, Melania and Barron. There you go. Name for, of course, Prince was named Prince, but anyways, she and her son Barron they stayed in New York. She's the first lady of the United States, but he prefers anything with his name on it. So she's stays in Trump Tower here in the city at extreme expense, because they have to provide security for her. Anyway, she just settled with was it the Daily Mail? Oh, come on, I had it marked. Anyway, she just settled with a British paper over a libel suit because they had implied that she had been more than just a model. So she sued him, and they settled for $3 million. And I thought, I wonder if she's going to use any of that to reimburse the American taxpayer. I doubt it, but anyways, that's my starting headline.
Well, it's a good headline. And tying in with that, it's not my headline, but just a comment on that. She should, because it says Trump. She's in New York, but 21 days of his 80-day presidency has been spent at Mar-a-Lago Resort in Palm Beach at a cost of $21.6 million. They say that Trump is on a fast track to outspend Obama's entire travel tab from 8 years of presidency in one single year. She does need to give us that $3 million back. Damn it.
Absolutely.
Ding, ding.
Ding, ding. What you got? Or was that your thing?
My bell. I can't find my bell.
Oh,
I took a coffee break.
Use mine.
There you go. Thank you. No, that's not my thing. Here's my thing. About two houses, speaking of living at different places, two houses on the market, Mark. One I love, and I saw pictures of it. Greta Garbo's New York City co-op. Much the same when she died is up for sale. Check it out, folks. It's really cool, Mark. It's in New York City, near you. It's the family of the late Garbo has decided to list the property at Campanile, one of New York City's most exclusive and secretive buildings in Beekman Place, which is a wonderful little neighborhood in Midtown. $5.95 million, folks. And you can go in, if you get a viewing, go in and check out what it looked like when Greta was kind of hiding in a reclusive actress at that. The other property is called Falcon Crest. It's the world's tallest single-family home. It's on the market. I believe it's in, let me look. Yeah, it's in Arizona. It's on the slope of Prescott, Arizona's Thumb Butte. It soars to 124 feet in the air. The views stretch over 120 miles. Beautiful home, built in 1994. Gorgeous.
I thought you said Thumb Butt, Oklahoma. Which,
I did.
I wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah, that's what old people hear. So, Mark.
Federal judge says Texas voter ID law is intentionally discriminates. Big shock there. Who would have thought that? Anyways, it's thank God for the courts. The courts are our last, so I think, are going to be our last defense in a lot of ways. And the Republicans have gerrymandered the hell out of their districts in 2010. So they're all safe. They're in these, and then plus they do the voter suppression thing as much as they possibly can. But anyways, a federal judge ruled on Monday that the voter identification law that Texas legislature passed in 2011 was enacted with the intent to discriminate against Black and Hispanic voters. Can you imagine such a thing, Rick?
Horrible.
I mean, why would anybody think the Republicans would do that? But anyways, the judge, Nelva Gonzalez Ramos, of course, Mexican, beep beep, Trump, of the United States District Court for the Southern. I hope people know that I'm joking. I mean, that I'm actually not in favor of these things.
They do.
But made a similar ruling in 2014. But after Texas appealed her decision, a federal appellate court instructed her to review the issue once more, and she came back and said the same thing. Boom, mic drop.
super long Cheeto worms its way into our dreams or nightmares. These two gals were driving in their car. One opened this little bag of Cheetos, not like a normal bag, those little snack packs. Pulled out this Cheeto, which actually turns out it was like 6 Cheetos long or 8 Cheetos long, and they hadn't been cut. You could see the little perforation on them. It's pretty wild. This happened in a city called Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And the one girl was actually going to take and put it on the market. She posted, my roommate just pulled this long-ass Cheeto out of this tiny bag. She says, I'm crying with tears. You think it's funny. She had read a story that she regrets she didn't put it on the market because apparently there was a Cheeto that was shaped like Harambe. Remember the deceased gorilla from the Cincinnati Zoo?
Yeah.
That someone put on eBay and actually posted it for $100,000, and it sold for $99,000.
Oh, my God.
I know, crazy.
Wow. Neil Gorsuch, is it Gorsuch, I guess, is how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
Gorsuch, anyways. He is sworn in as the stolen Supreme Court seat. It was stolen.
Mark.
It was totally
It was.
stolen.
He didn't steal it, but it was stolen. You're
No,
right.
it was stolen by Mitch McConnell, specifically the Republicans, but definitely Mitch McConnell. And because that had never been happened in 240 years. What is that like? I hear waters and stuff.
Oh, I forgot to put my mute button on. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. But anyways, he was, Mitch McConnell. Most people who pay attention know the story. Obama, it's the president, any president, it's their prerogative to nominate a judge for the Supreme Court, and with the advice and consent of the Senate. But of course, Mitch McConnell, for the first time in 240 years, would not even give the nominee a hearing. And they stole the seat. But anyways, Gorsuch just got sworn in for the Supreme Court. So it is what it is. We have to let these things go or they will make us crazy. But they stole that seat. And then they got rid of the filibuster to put him in there. So whatever.
No, I don't like it. Speaking of which, keeping things fresh and letting people know how ridiculous it all is. Joan Baez, who's about my mom's age, actually. This is an entertainment post. Joan Baez tears into future dictator Donald Trump in new Nasty Man song. She put out a song called Nasty Man, Mark. Have you heard about it?
I saw a piece about it. I haven't heard the song.
Well, one of the lyrics is, quote, when the dirt on this man finally hits the fan and no one gives a damn about his tweets, he'll be finally and forever obsolete. Check it out. There's a video on her, I think it's on her Facebook page.
And by the way, I love Joan Baez. I saw her many years ago. And every time I'm in Washington Square, which is here in New York City, I think of her song Diamonds and Rust. So
God, I love her. I knew you loved her. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Robert Bentley, Alabama governor, resigns amid scandal. By the way, he's anti-LGBT and pro.
Bye-bye.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
He's all about the opposite sex heterosexual traditional marriage. And he resigned Monday because he had an affair. He pleaded guilty on Monday to failing to file a major contribution report and knowingly converting campaign contributions to personal use. Okay, that's bad enough. But he also was a sleaze, as they often are.
Horrible, man. Here's a good one. This is really noteworthy. The star of this TV series called Billions. Her name is Asia, or their name is Asia Kate Dillon. She's blazing Hollywood trails. Dillon was also on Orange is the New Black. She's the first gender non-binary character on a mainstream television show who actually is, I believe, gender non-binary as well. She helped clarify the Television Academy submission rules for Emmy Awards, and she is the first person being nominated. Not that she can make the decision if she wants to go in the actor or actress category as it relates to the Emmys. That being said, the story I really have is that the MTV Movie and TV Awards, they used to just be the MTV Awards, Movie Awards. Now they're MTV Movie and TV Awards. They've dropped gendered acting categories completely this year.
Oh, good.
So yeah, it's pretty cool. So the subtitle here says, Taraji P. Henson and Emma Watson will compete against the likes of Hugh Jackman and Daniel Kaluuya in these various categories. They said that the MTV president, Chris McCarthy, actually said, we're modernizing an antiquated system. There's no need, to have an actor and actress category. So let's see where it takes us when we get to the Academy Awards.
Well, and this brings up something for me. Now, I'm sure that no one at the Lambda Literary Awards is listening. They've got to have all these categories to justify giving out these awards and having an event, like not a banquet, but a ceremony every year in New York. But anyways, I think the same thing with them. I mean, it's time to stop like having these lesbian mystery category, gay mystery category, transgender poetry category. It's a fucking mystery. Just have a mystery category and have maybe expand the number of winners or something. But we got to get, I agree, that's like, it's the same kind of thing. Like, let's get past this shit. Okay.
I agree. Move on.
Sleep is the new, I got 3 more. Sleep is the new status symbol. Which is interesting, you know, because it used to be that people like prided themselves on, oh, I eat through my lunch at my desk, like that's an accomplishment, and I haven't taken a vacation in 2 years. People, Americans especially, are like really think that it's impressive that they haven't taken a vacation for 2 years, and they eat lunch at their desk, and they, you know, it's just this whole thing, image we have of ourselves. We need to feel really, really important because of this like ridiculousness. But anyways, sleep now. Because I used to be like, oh, I only sleep 4 hours a night. I'm so busy. Now it's how long you sleep is the status symbol. So I slept for 9. No, I don't. I mean, I'm getting older. I sleep about 6 to 7 hours, which is fine. But it's interesting to me that like now people are getting into how much they sleep.
How much did you sleep? It's so funny because just this week I was bringing, I had 2 to 8.5 hours of sleep. Like 2 days ago, I didn't. I had 2 hours. But it's funny. You're right. You mentioned the lovely HuffPost. And they've added, you know, one of their subcategories or one of their, you know, streams that you can, you know, pick as, you know, like if you're reading through a paper, they have categories. You know what I'm talking about? And I can't process my thought.
Yeah, like lesbian mystery kind of thing.
Yeah, well, this is sleep because, you know, she's really into sleep and wellness. Okay, last week, folks.
Well, she's gone.
Oh, she left.
Are you talking about Ariana? She's not there anymore.
Yeah, she went to Yahoo or something.
She sold it for another $1 billion and whatever. Okay.
Well, which I want to, I can't find the story, but I'm going to just briefly mention that bad naming. Oath is the new name of Yahoo meets AOL.
OAF?
I think that's where Ariana went. Didn't you go from Oath? No, Oath. OATH. And the catchphrase like take the oath.
Like he's an oath.
Yeah. So AOL Mail is now going to be Oath Mail, and Yahoo News, because the two companies merged or AOL bought them, as you know. So and Yahoo News is now Oath News. You didn't hear this?
It's a bad branding. I'm sorry. It's just not going to work. It's not going to work.
The name they said before that was really bad. Oath. In my world, you know, we have Gannett, which is now rebranding itself as USA Today Network. Now that works, you know. But when Tronc, Tronc, I don't know if you ever heard of it. It's Chicago Tribune, Los Angeles Times. When they got rid of and put themselves together as a digital entity, the new digital company is called Tronc, Tronc, and now we got Oath. What the fuck?
Well, we're the twist, and we're always going to be the twist.
And we are always going to be clothing optional.
Yeah, I mean, I just got boxers on most of the time.
I'm just,
and a shirt because I'm not thin enough yet that I'm really comfortable without a shirt on. But I mostly do this in my boxers.
But you are getting 8 hours of sleep.
6 to 7. I'm a very busy
that's
guy.
That's impressive, 8
Mark.
That is so impressive.
Thank you. Thank you. Speaking of sleeping, a man fell asleep with his iPhone charging in bed, and it almost electrocuted him. Do you see that?
No, but now you got me scared.
When Wiley Day fell asleep on March 22nd, this goes, I wonder, I just saw this recently. Anyways, his iPhone, because sometimes this stuff happens and it doesn't make it into the news for a couple of weeks. His iPhone was not far away. Like many others, he had grown used to keeping his phone with him in bed, which is, I don't, it's not far, but not in the bed. Via an extension cord as it charged overnight. How addicted do you have to be to a goddamn phone?
That is horrible.
Anyways, he woke up and, he's in Alabama, Huntsville, Alabama. The next morning he woke up and rolled over, and as he did so, a dog tag necklace that he was wearing happened to catch on the exposed prongs of the charger head and almost killed him. So, lesson learned, people. Leave the iPhone out of the bed.
Last week, I had one of my headlines is about this Chinese zoo or zoological group that, you know, remember you could ration off raise your eyes to determine that you've already taken it.
You come up with the creepy stuff.
Okay,
yeah,
I know. This is creepy. Yeah. Okay. Well, this is one that came out. Chinese zoo lets guests clean up polar bear poop for $145.
Oh, cool.
I don't need to say any more. Just if you want to go to China and pick up poop, go for it.
Can they keep it? That's the question. Do they get to keep it?
I don't remember what the whole story was, and I didn't save it, but had something to do like they could study it, or they could just. Okay. Oh no, I know what it was. Like you, no. It was just like being a zookeeper. You could go and feed the bears or clean up the poop just because you're intimate with them, I guess. Yeah, Play-Doh. What'd you call Pudo?
Pudo, and it gets you closer to the whole nature thing.
Oh my God! No, I want to create Pudo. I love the name, Mark. It's way better than. Oh,
You know we make a lot of money. We better be careful. Don't say too much.
Kids would love it. Little
Somebody's
kids
going to
love
steal
Pudo.
the idea, Rick, and we're not going to make a dime, and we're going to be so pissed.
Pudo, love it.
Okay, is it last call for craft beer? This is my next to last story. My nephew is starting in Indiana is starting a craft beer place. But anyways, after years of 15% growth, the craft beer sector is down to the single digits. Part of that is to be expected in a maturing part of the market, but it's also a result of pushback by a handful of gargantuan global brewers, of course, aided by slack government antitrust oversight. So anyways, craft beer, I don't drink, so I can't think of the last time I had a craft beer, because I used to drink. Anyways, I hope he succeeds and that the craft beer market does not collapse.
That's very cool. I go to Indiana to just try his beer. I'm a huge craft beer guy. Good for him. Yeah. Did he homebrew for a while? Is that how he got into it?
I don't know because we don't communicate that much. We're Facebook relatives.
What city in Indiana?
The brewery's in like Kosciuszko County. I grew up in Elkhart, South Bend.
Yeah. Well, people look it up, guys. It'd be cool. What's his last name?
Well, it's not. The beer isn't named after him. It's called Hop.
I know, but
Hoplore, like Hoplore, like the lore of hops. Hoplore.
Oh, he's kind of like his uncle. He's got some literary sense to him. I like it.
Yeah, he's a smart guy, just like me.
Mark and I know each other, and we talk off. It's not just a show that Mark and I talk or text or whatever. And I didn't know this. This is cool. You got to understand. You know that I'm really into that shit, right?
That's why I thought it would be perfect for you, because you're you're usually the food beat. I mean, you haven't been doing a lot of food lately.
Well, no, but I can tell you the Cheeto thing.
But I thought that was about Trump. When you started talking about the giant Cheeto, I thought it was a Trump thing.
Yeah, he's kind of owned the hashtag Cheetos lately, hasn't he? But no, there is a Fruit Loop shake that's debuting at Burger King this month. Just saying.
Yeah, they do some. No, that's too much.
Crazy stuff. Here's my last one. I'm thumbing through my phone. This was a good headline. This is great the way it's written too. You'll love it because Mark's great with writing headlines. Here it is. The Cage puts you in a cage, forces you to watch Nicolas Cage movies.
Really?
The dream has come true. The story goes on to say, most of us fantasize we just take a day off and watch Nick Cage movies all day. He's kind of the joke about movies. But yeah, it was created by two guys. One a writer developer. Another is a guy named Chris Baker, who defines himself as a maker of things on the internet that people like to talk about. And they've created these big cages for big cage fans where you go in and it's like sensory deprivation, Nick Cage overload kind of cage. Check it out. You can Google it.
Yeah, that's like Pudo. That's Pudo. That's one of those once in a lifetime ideas.
Pudo, man. We gotta bid everybody goodbye and start creating this shit.
We do. Well, I'll talk to you as soon as the show's over. Old Bailey's this is my last one. Old Bailey, which of course is in Britain for people who don't know what this references. Old Bailey's first non-white judge was mistaken for a defendant.
Huh.
The Old Bailey's first non-white circuit judge has said she was often mistaken for a witness or defendant when she started working as a lawyer. Her name is Anuja Ravindra Dheer. She began her career in the 1980s. But anyways, so that's, it's everyday sort of not even conscious racism. And I've been done it before too. But I'm very careful now. So if I'm in a retail store, say I'm in a retail store and I see a black person, I don't assume they work there or that they're following, their security. We have these experiences that sometimes determine what the assumptions that we make. So she's Indian and she's an attorney and she's at the Old Bailey, which is like the courthouse there. And people keep thinking she's a defendant.
Huh.
Think before you speak, my friends. Think it through.
That's all I got, Mark. You got any more headlines?
No, that's it. And we got our big stuff. Cool. Who's going first?
We got our big stuff. You want to talk about this, we had here in the United States, guys, this queer TV series that kind of talked about the LGBT community that was done by the guy that wrote Milk.
When We Rise. But, it was it was okay. It wasn't really an overview of 50 years. This is what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, I want to hear about it because you found one in Britain that's doing 100 years.
Yes, Sherlock Starr leads new BBC series, Queers, charting 100 years of being gay in Britain now. I wonder if he's gay because he's kind of, he's not hot, but because I've seen him. I've seen him on the show Sherlock. He plays Mycroft, the brother, Sherlock's brother. But anyways, So he probably isn't gay, but who knows it? I still tingle at these things, like after all these years, like, oh, this actor's gay, or you see two guys holding hands on TV. It's like, oh my God. Anyways, it's like, anyways.
We're going to talk about that later too, by the way.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. From lovelorn World War II soldiers to young gay actors navigating the 1980s, Mark Gatiss's new series has it all. As the UK prepares to celebrate 50 years since the partial decriminalization of homosexuality in England and Wales, Sherlock star Mark Gatiss is set to lead a new BBC series charting 100 years of being gay in Britain. Grouped under the title Queers, each standalone monologue has been penned by a different writer with the aim of exploring a different aspect of gay life in Britain through the 20th century and in 21st century. Now, I'm not going to keep reading from the piece, but that was my big topic, was just the idea that we do have a history. And sometimes I think, especially as we assimilate or have assimilated the last 10 years, 20 years, it's easy to forget that. You got younger folks, younger queers, LGBT people, who don't have any sense of us as a people with a history. And it's important because we have things now, like where you have the census, where they were going to include sexual orientation and gender identity questions on this, or at least sexual orientation questions on the census for the first time. So we would have been officially counted by our government. And that's not going to happen. We had the survey for seniors, the senior survey for people who provide services for seniors and elders, and that we're not going to be part of that either. We're living now with an administration after 8 years of an administration that actually did what it could to include us and make us part of the American fabric, recognizable.
Because we are.
Yeah. Because we are. Now we have people, and I don't really put it on Trump. I don't. I put it on Pence and Betsy DeVos and all these evangelicals that he's given power to. But they would like to erase us. They can't kill us yet. That's in Chechnya. That's in Chechnya where they're doing that.
We're going to end the show talking about that.
Yes, but they can erase us from the records. They can take us off the government White House website. There's no LGBT page there anymore, and they can do what they can to basically, like make it like we don't exist. Like this Chechen guy that I'm going to quote at the end. It's like if we're not on any official records and we're not in the census, we just don't exist. And so that was my big topic. Really, it's very simple. It's important to have this visibility and to not lose sight of the fact that it's very precarious. Our gains are precarious. They can be taken away, and they can be damaged, and they can be minimized. And our history is long, 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 long. I happen to think that the gay identity is modern. And most scholars would tell you that. I mean, there have always been homosexuals. Always. As long as there have been human beings, there have been.
Alexander the Great, Michelangelo, we go way back.
But I'm not somebody, I just, even when I talk about being a queer kid, I don't say I was gay at 7, because to me, gay is a consciousness. It's an identity, a political identity. I say that I was same-sex attracted. I would not say I was gay until I was maybe 13 or 14 when I knew what that was.
Mm-hmm. That's very interesting. And I want to play off of that in a minute, but if this were a magazine with its subtitles and subtext, this would be the sidebar, because I just want to bring this up. It ties off with the British comment you made, and I think that's cool. Like, you are right in that our experience, quote, the gay experience of the gay culture, the gay world, the gay life, the gay, the essence of being gay is far beyond just the United States. So they can, I think we have to look at it as a world thing, Mark, and how it plays out across the world. So I think this series you're talking about is really good.
Yes,
and I appreciate
yeah, okay, I guess I'll leave it at that. Just that it's time. It's one of the reasons I started doing LGBTSR again, because I had sort of gotten burned out after 6 years, and I thought, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm just tired of it. But then I had people who said they missed it, and also the Trump administration, and especially as it affects us, our elders. I thought, it's kind of a lifeline. Even if it's only a lifeline to 400 email subscribers, it's a lifeline. And it felt really important to me to not stop doing that.
Right, and it goes beyond subscribers. It's the occasional person that pops in and reads one story or talks about that story headline on their podcast. You don't know where your stuff is going. It's more than those subscribers, Mark. It's,
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And
just the presence of it being out there is incredible.
well, and the fact that this is an audience. Not to talk too much about the older audience, but we remember these things. We remember AIDS. AIDS is not some ancient history to me. I lived through it. And
Right.
the people who are older than me, like Lee Lynch, one of my favorite authors and a columnist for the site, she was writing in her recent column about the Mattachine Society and the Sisters of Bilitis. And you have, just like you have young people today who don't know who Janis Joplin was.
Joan Baez.
Joan Baez, like, who the fuck is Joan Baez? They don't know, like, the Sisters of Bilitis. What the hell is that? And so we have a history, and it needs to be preserved. And I'm really happy to see that they're doing it in Britain. Now, When We Rise, I watched parts of it. But like I was going to say, that wasn't really about the long view of our history. That was about a specific time in the late 70s.
When I want to play off that, I'm going to go to the late 80s.
I'm done with it. So.
No, that's cool. But the sidebar, and then we'll jump back to it because I've got comments on what you're talking about.
The salad bar. I love salad bars.
The sidebar. Like if you're reading a story, there's a little sidebar. So my sidebar to your story would be 5 things that will happen when the Queen dies. The plan goes from code words to corgis. This is true, guys. There was the possibility around the holidays, the Christmas holidays this year, that Queen Elizabeth was ill.
Oh, that
When she dies, here's 5 things, Mark, that are going to happen. I found this interesting. The first people to know will speak in code. Did you know that? Her private secretary, I said it in a British way, secretary, will be the first to be informed of her death through a code language that they've created.
Oh, interesting.
Reporters will be sartorially
somebody's
prepared.
just going to tweet it. Somebody's just going to tweet the old lady's dead.
You think so, but the second thing that's going to happen, they have this whole plan where the news will be kept. If she dies overnight, they've got it arranged that everybody will get together at 8 a.m. in the press, and it will be reported immediately at that time. They've got a whole media plan. The third thing, the palace website will go dark. Speaking of going dark on certain websites like you're talking about. Number 4, you will be able to visit her coffin, so she'll lie in state. More than 200,000 people filed past the Queen Mother's coffin. They say this one will be tremendous. They even feel weird talking about this. And the 5th thing, her dogs will be invited to the funeral, they're pretty sure. The corgis that she knows and loves. Isn't that wild stuff?
It's wild, and it fits very nicely in with my queer history thing.
Well, that's what I thought. I thought it was a perfect aside. Yes, it does. Now, going back to the topic of queer history, I got to say this because I am a David Chappelle fan, although not any longer.
Dave Chappelle,
I love
the comedian?
Yes.
Okay, go
Yes. He's back, as you know. He made his debut back on Saturday Night Live, and then from that launched a series of specials that I don't even know. Who knows anymore? Is it on Netflix? Like you said, everything blends.
Yeah,
Netflix,
whatever.
is it CBS, whatever. Well, he's nasty. I'm sorry. He's just fulfilling the hatred. I read this story that he made comments on gay rights. He's made comments on why are we calling the LGBTQ community. I think a quote is LGBTQ. I was like, what the fuck is the Q? Does that even make sense? Q. Turns out Q is like the vowels. That shit is sometimes Y. It's for gay dudes that don't really know that you're gay. I don't know. And then he talks about Caitlyn Jenner. He goes on and on and on. So, to your point, whether it's Betsy DeVos or Dave Chappelle, one's doing it for comedy, one's doing it because they have true hatred. Or Michelle Bachmann, who is, did you see her comment from Minnesota? The woman that we once thought could possibly be president.
No, I tend to skip over comments because I don't like being agitated and upset.
And I got worked up, but anyway, she thinks Trump is a blessing. Whatever. And then you juxtapose that as I try to skip over that stuff, but I get more worked up and lathered up because I get pissed. And I read this commentary by this gentleman who talked about like you talk. He said, what he wrote says, as a gay man, the 80s crippled my identity. And he went on to talk about the fact that even though we were living in a time of AIDS, as you referenced, Mark, health and sexuality classes back then didn't even talk about it. And then it went on, of course, not even to talk about AIDS, but to teach abstinence in states like Texas, which today still don't address AIDS. They just talk about abstinence. He talks about there was no mention of basic human rights struggles for the LGBT community for over 20 years. There was no discussion where he grew up of who Harvey Milk was or Stonewall riots. All of those documentaries and things like we're talking about earlier came out after the fact, not during the fact. There's no acknowledgement, as you referenced, Mark, that Alexander the Great, Da Vinci, Michelangelo were among the many positive gay historical role models. He said the only time you saw a gay character on TV was on Three's Company when Jack Tripper was on pretending to effeminately switch. Go ahead.
No, finish, please.
But the point is that so he felt that if he had grown up today, that his life would be very different. Now he goes on to say that he and this is his experience. He married a woman, had children, went through the whole thing, but he answered on a very positive note. He realized at the very end, he says, I realized that I was already on the top of my mountain and my goal was to keep climbing. It didn't matter if I ever really got to the top. I had to just keep climbing, keep learning, and keep aspiring and inspiring others to climb along the way and not be crippled by, the context of the era he grew up in.
Okay.
What were you going to say?
I think it's full of shit.
Go ahead.
That's what I think.
I loved it.
I grew up in the 70s, and I mean, I don't think anything's changed. I don't think they're talking about Alexander the Great in fucking grades, high school.
Good
and
point.
when I had a health class in high school, they talked about homosexuality. I don't remember what they said, but it's okay, Rick. I saw that and I didn't read it because it felt like one of those like Huffington Post blog pieces that I totally don't identify with. So.
See, and I do. Because
I lived in the 80s. It didn't. I don't know. I don't want to take up time with this, but
No. It's an important conversation, and we can differ. I mean, I don't think it crippled me. I think it's if you did read through it at the very end, he says, "Why did I let it cripple me? I should let it be my climbing." I knew, like you, that I was not going to marry a woman, and I was not going to have kids. I just made that decision. So you're right. In some ways, his attitude is a "woe is me." I just bought into it. But
it also depends on location. The 1981 was when I moved to was it 81? I think so. I moved to Los Angeles. I moved to Hollywood. That was when I came out. That was when I finally was around lots and lots of gay men. And it was a horrible time because of AIDS, but I went to the baths. I mean, to me, it didn't cripple that was my young gay identity. And it didn't cripple me at all. It showed me that I wasn't alone, that there were thousands of people like me. So I didn't read his thing because it's not my experience and didn't cripple me at all.
Well, I loved it.
It felt like a slam on gay men in the 1980s. Like, okay.
And it didn't come across that way at the end, where he basically did bring it back to that point again. He says, but I realized I should have never looked at it that way. It's all a journey. It's all a climb, and we keep moving. I was the same as you. I was growing up in that setting in rural Wisconsin, northern Wisconsin, the woods, actually, even beyond rural. But I always said, I'm going to go to San Francisco, because those were the images we had at the time of gay liberation, if you will. And even though it was, the scene that I'm not into, little, drag queens or men with beards and dresses waving rainbow flags, that was not my scene. I knew that that's the setting I wanted to be in. And I aspired to go there to go into med school. But when I realized I didn't want to be a doctor and I had researched San Francisco colleges, I knew exactly where I was going. But at that time, I said, I'm just out of this environment. I'm going to Japan. Whether it was more closeted and more back in the 80s, more held back than the United States, didn't matter. I just knew the setting I was in was one I needed to get out of. So we all have different journeys. But once I, like you described, embraced being gay, so to speak, I never went back. But my point is this. That in the 80s, whatever your experience was, it's a different world today. The world that defines the LGBTQ community, Dave Chappelle, is one where young people between the ages of 18 and 34 are twice as likely to openly identify as part of that community, as you know. And the nuances are so different. Recent study shows that 20% of millennials identify as openly LGBTQ, while only 7% of the baby boomer generation, which is our generation, would openly label themselves as such. Okay. My point is just how far we have come in that, depending on when you grew up, and even soap operas, which is the world I got into, Mark, it amazes me that you can look now at the history of gays on soaps and you see the nuances of characters. Not nuances. We've gone to Days of Our Lives where two of my friends are gay and being writers on the show are taking two gay characters and having the first gay marriage. And that happened 5 years ago.
Yep.
So it's come a far way. That's all I'm saying.
Yep. Our producer is jumping up and down and cutting his throat and all this stuff.
We don't have a producer, Mark. Don't pull my leg. Just use sound effects.
Yeah, I get it. I get the point. So, okay.
Well, and the whole thing's caused, too, by the press, too. This whole thing, I just got to say, and then I'll shut up. And you can cut me off because you're in control of the control board. But this whole thing, this whole controversy, and this is where I'm going to bring it back to Disney in happier times, over Beauty and the Beast and that scene. Who really... Whatever. Why did they blow it into this big deal? It's just part of the fabric of that movie. It's been around forever. Look at the gay characters from Fernando the Bull on down. it's been here for a long time.
And what I read, it's not a big gay thing. It got turned into that, but it's like nothing. It's like somebody touches somebody and that's it. I mean, that's the whole big gay scene in Beauty and the Beast. It's like
it's a great movie.
Bullshit that gets turned into social media crap, and they ban it in Afghanistan, like whatever.
I know, it's great. So I was going to do this person came out with these little identifying characters from Disney as gay, but I won't get into that because I want to end up talking about far more worldly things, Mark. But there's a cool book if you want to read about it. It's called Tinker Bells and Evil Queens, the Walt Disney Company from the Inside Out, where writer Sean Griffin goes back as far back as 1939 and talks about the gay characters that have existed. And they've been there. They've been there for a long time. And we just, whatever.
Okay. Now, what?
That's all.
Do you have more villain stuff?
No. We'll get into that. Maybe I'll save that for next week. But I do want to talk about the topic you brought up because it was very worthy. What's happening across our world and how scary it is over there.
Oh, in Chechnya?
Horrible.
Yeah, I'll segue that into my end quote. And I'm sorry, I wasn't like cutting you off. It's just,
No.
Sometimes we lose. I do the same thing. We get caught up in what we're saying, and then we don't realize that it's 5 minutes later.
I know.
Okay,
yeah. But that's the cool thing about podcasts. We're not in.
No, and people can zip. They can just stop. Just hit the.
If they don't like the subject. Yeah, but I think they like the subject.
I think they do. One. And plus we're fired up. They might think that I'm right and you're wrong, or you're right and I'm wrong, and they might send us an email.
They might. We might get them worked out. But anyway, let's talk about what's going on in that part of the world because it's scary.
Yes, it is in Chechnya. Speaking of. Anyways, in Chechnya, what happened was some gay rights group in Russia started sending out, trying to get permits to do events
or gay parade or
whatever, in various cities. None of them were in Chechnya, by the way. But Chechnya is a very, very heavily Muslim area, and it's controlled by a warlord. His name is Ramzan Kadyrov. He's an authoritarian leader with a notorious private militia. And he's fiercely loyal to our president's friend, Vladimir Putin. Mm. And just this last week, there were reports started coming out that they were rounding up gay men and killing quite a few of them. I guess they would use dating apps and hookup apps to catch them and that kind of thing. And then just a couple days ago, it came out that they were putting them into prisons. Now, the reports were calling them concentration camps. To me, that would indicate more something that was constructed for that purpose. And I don't think this is the case. These are notorious prisons where you probably would rather be dead than spend any length of time there. But they're being put in these prisons, some of them, and
they're baiting them too. From understanding, this is an independent Russian paper that came up with the story. They said they've confirmed with more than 100 men that presumed to be gay had been rounded up. 2 television reporters and a waiter had been killed already. But they are saying that they're actually snaring these gay men by posing as gays, looking for dates on social media sites, then arresting the victims. It's horrible what's going on there, and we have to remember that when one person is not seeing freedom, none of us are seeing freedom, a quote that I had a few weeks ago. But this is going on all over. And the government of Egypt, remember, back in 2014, arrested at least 150 gay men and that were put on a public trial back then.
It's very dangerous to be gay in a lot of places. There are places in the United States where it's dangerous to be gay or to be out. And
in any oppressed people, I mean, you say it here too. How is this any different than what's going on right now, where they're in California going into the local Vaughn's grocery store and targeting people, of other countries that are living in our country, and sending them home? It's very similar, in some ways, not as extreme, but it's targeting. I hate it. It's horrible.
Now, you ready for my end quote? Are we there yet?
I am, Mark. Is it going to make me sad?
Well, it kind of ties into the whole "we are not invisible" thing, with the gay history and the horrible 1980s that warped all gay men except me. I'm playing. I'm playing with you. I guess I saw that headline and it's like I'm not reading this.
But it ended on a happy note. Like he was like, "Screw me. Why did I think that?"
Yeah,
it's all a journey.
Well, good for him.
Anyway.
Good for him.
Yeah. And I don't even know his name, and I apologize because I shouldn't reference him.
Well, I know he's listening. He's listening.
I know. I'm sure he's very excited. His friends are all calling him right now. Well, when they hear it.
Yeah. Anyways, Kadyrov, this war leader who runs Chechnya, said, quote, "You can't detain and repress people who simply don't exist in the republic," end quote. And that goes to all of that for me. It's like, I've heard that before. I used to hear that said about Africa, specifically by, African presidents or whatever leaders over there, that we don't have homosexuals in Africa. I also heard, I don't know, was it NWA going back a long, long time? Somebody from one of the rap groups saying that there are no homosexuals in Africa. It's like, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. They're just hidden because they know you're going to kill them if they live openly. So that's really sad, and that's why we can't give up, and we can't ever be complacent and ever think that we have assimilated to the point to where where it's not the world that we lived in. It is.
Well, and just tie that in, back to television role models and film and all that. At least that you look at the positive things, the LGBTQSR.com website. You look at the things keeping it present. There was also a story I read this week about Logo. Is it Logo Network? One of them has this series about Fire Island queers, and people in our community were in an uproar because they're like, it's like a reality show of a bunch of guys on Fire Island, which is, known for promiscuity and liberalness and blah, blah, blah. And they said, well, thank God we still have TV shows out there that are doing it. It may not be perfect, but stop. Queers blasting queers. Stop it. This is all part of our history, all part of our community, all part of our movement. Amen. Peace and love.
Yes. Thanks, everybody, for listening to the Twist, America's only clothing optional podcast. We was fired up today, Rick.
We was on a roll, Marky. Have a great day. Can't wait to hear the sound effects later.
See you next week. Hear you next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.